Hello all. Still here in Auckland this week, but I am itching for my next stop after being here for a month. I checked just about everything off my bucket list, and then some since late December, and will have zero regrets as I move forward on this journey. This week has been a blustery one, and yet, just as the locals, I've been out in the elements for hours every single day, rain or shine, or wind. I'm mentally preparing myself to leave Auckland. It's a strange thing to live somewhere for a short time. Unlike permanent living or tourism, this makes you approach each day as if it were your last, while also giving you the time to sit and be present. I find myself wondering, am I doing enough? While at the same time thinking, holy hell, look how much I've done in less than a month. I also find myself feeling emotionally ready to move on, and also almost nostalgic for the present moment, as if I had already left. Coco the dog is half asleep on the floor next to me. I have loved watching him dream. He barks, runs, and chews in his sleep. Living with him, bonding, walking, playing, eating, sleeping together, and knowing that once I walk out the door to the airport, I will probably never see him again, is sad but beautiful. Each moment with him is precious. Right now, I am listening to squawking seagulls, winds in the palms, the light tap of the shades gently swaying against the windows, and Coco heavy sighing at my feet with a patient heaviness in his breath. It all makes me smile, and also puts a tiny knot in my stomach. I can tell he's ready to jump up at any moment to go for a walk again. I'm being quite boring, sitting here clacking away on the keys. Last week we talked about Sir Peter Jackson and learned how he fully embodied imagination and risk while refusing to leave New Zealand in order to be taken seriously. We also learned that there is a part of his story that often gets flattened or skipped entirely. Jackson's vision alone did not build worlds, and neither will ours. Vision needs to be grounded. It must be made tactile and practical. It needs to be translated by someone who can take an idea that exists only in the abstract and ask, how do we make this real together? Vision needs collaboration. This week was a milestone for me in terms of collaboration and self-expression. Something this podcast, my business, social media, and songwriting have all supported. But being seen is still so uncomfortable. I have had conversations with creatives where they see beauty in everything around them, but struggle seeing it in themselves. I am no different. So I challenged myself to partner and collaborate with others to help me with this area in my life. I hired a hair and makeup artist and hired a professional photographer who took me around Auckland Central for over 3 hours, where I had to pose and change clothing in public too many times to count. Weirdly enough, I was fine with it. What I am stressing about today is actually seeing the photos of myself. She, my photographer, offered the day of the shoot, but I refused to look at the camera for fear I would get in my head and in my own way. So I haven't seen one yet. I am just trusting someone amazing to figure out how to help me show up, be seen, be noticed, and attract the right people for me through a visual narrative. I'll let you know how the next phase goes. In thinking about trust, I want to move into our expander of the week now. Last week, I also shared my first experience with Wētā, the gateway in which Peter Jackson was able to imagine Middle-earth into fruition. But to clarify, this company, the vehicle he chose to invest in, was originally founded in collaborative partnership. There was another mind equally committed to building Middle-earth who was not a director or producer, but instead was an architect of creative collaboration. This individual was not driven by being seen. He focused his intentions on creating something that could take hold and root in New Zealand, a company strong enough to bear the weight of such an enormous endeavor. He understood that true creative innovation doesn't scale through one's ego, but instead can only flourish through systems, trust, and shared devotion. That person was Richard Taylor. If we were to say Peter Jackson represents the spark of these amazing creative achievements, then Richard Taylor could only therefore represent the fire that kept burning long after the first flash of inspiration faded. I was personally thrilled to learn about him in my research for New Zealand Expanders because it gave me confirmation of what I know in my gut to be true. Partnership and collaboration really is the only way forward into the future of innovation and creativity. I am very pleased to now share his story. Richard Taylor was born in England but grew up in New Zealand on a farm far removed from the centers of global film power. In fact, he didn't grow up dreaming of Hollywood at all. Instead, he was fascinated by fine art, in particular by drawing, sculpture, and the physical act of making things with his hand. But he was limited as a child, which allowed for him to grow his imagination and become quite industrious. Imagine creating with only the natural materials at hand, including mud and sticks. That's what Taylor initially learned from. His passion for fine art led him to study graphic design over film at the university level. As with many artists, his early creative life wasn't glamorous. Instead, it was tactile, messy, and even experimental. He learned by doing, by failing, by pulling materials apart and playing around with what else they could become. He was simply more oriented towards curiosity. This trait would quietly shape everything that followed. Taylor was similar to Peter Jackson in that he was the kind of person who didn't just imagine monsters. He wanted to build them. He wanted to understand how they moved, aged, and physically told stories without speaking. When Taylor met Peter Jackson in the late 1980s, neither of them had power, money, or industry credibility. What they did share was a mutual recognition and appreciation in one another. They were each serious about their imaginations and what was possible when they didn't ask for permission. Their early collaborations were scrappy, low budget, and deeply hands-on. Remember Meet the Feebles, 1989, from the last episode? Taylor and his wife, Tanya Roger, the other half of Wētā, supported Jackson's vision through creation of props, miniatures, and puppets. Heard of the movie Dead Alive, 1992? Well, in New Zealand, it's called Brain Dead, and it's an extremely well-known comedy, splatter film in horror circles. Again, Taylor played a large part in the final work, specifically with zombie creature and gore special effects. If you are curious why it's so popular, you can find full versions of it on YouTube. Be prepared to gag and laugh at the same time. Jackson called these films splat-stick. Get it? In 1993, Wētā Limited split into two companies it remains today. One focusing on the tactical, still headed by Taylor and Roger, and the other on digital, where Jackson is still a majority shareholder. With Taylor and Roger at the helm, Wētā Workshop began to take shape. It wasn't designed as a factory, but instead as a community of designers and makers of physical effects, props, and creatures. Each area celebrated as part of the whole. Each facet integral to the success of the creative process. This production company itself, just as Taylor was with Jackson, and Taylor was and still is with Tanya, synergetic. This group of individuals understood early, and this is crucial, that great creative work doesn't emerge from lone brilliance. It emerges from environments where many kinds of intelligence can coexist. So Wētā didn't just hire artists. It cultivated creatives with talents that didn't fit neatly into job titles. These individuals started out as sculptors, painters, fabricators, engineers, and designers to become graphic artists, puppeteers, set builders, miniaturists. And they thrived in the systems that Taylor created where specialists could collaborate without hierarchy. This way, curiosity and coherence could thrive and speed wasn't the priority. This is why Wētā feels different from other effects houses. Yes, the end result produces objects used in television and film just like any other. But at Wētā, there is an underlying belief that what it is doing is different, and once you go beyond its gates, you enter a special world all on its own. This world is important, and the belief in it has weight, history, and texture. During The Lord of the Rings, Taylor's role reached well beyond simply managing production. He was helping hold the fringes of an entire legacy universe together through making thousands of decisions affecting thousands of people with countless creative tensions. But of course, he didn't make these choices alone. Instead of centralizing control, he distributed and allocated responsibility and trust in others. Wētā is now known for its work on The Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, and King Kong, among others. And Taylor has been recognized for his prop, effects, and costuming work, including the win of multiple Academy Awards. Psychologically, Taylor operates less like a commander and more like a steward. He listens intensely. He notices potential before it's obvious. He understands that people do their best work when they feel part of something larger than themselves, and not when they're micromanaged into compliance. This is the ultimate leader. This is the sort of person who is made to change the world for the better. While Jackson was shaping story and cinematic language, Taylor was shaping conditions where creativity could survive such enormous scale without collapsing into chaos. With big ideas comes big imagination, comes stretching what is possible in the real world. But Taylor made sure things could stretch without snapping. What's just as lovely is that, just like Peter Jackson, with all of this success, Richard Taylor chose to stay in New Zealand and did not chase Hollywood down or try to relocate to closer to more power. He chose to stay where he had already invested his time, energy, and heart. Taylor anchored Wētā in New Zealand, and in doing so helped prove that world-class creative infrastructure can exist outside the same tired centers. It was through collaboration, belief, cultivation, trust, and community building that Wētā has surpassed many other establishments built on prestige alone. Today, Wētā has become more of a modeled standard than just a workshop. It's why you can tour the facilities through an immersive experience of their work. It's a living example of what happens when partnership is treated as part of the creative design process instead of a business maneuver or afterthought. Taylor has spoken often about the responsibility of creativity, that it needs to serve the story and vision, the people involved, and the intentionality of craft. He obviously respects it over romanticizing it. Creativity is important, and when you hear Taylor speak, you can feel that he has remained serious about imagination his whole life. Many people who claim to be fans of the Middle-earth films may have never even heard of Richard Taylor, especially if they live outside of New Zealand. But even here, the name might not ring recognition, because Taylor never tried to be the star. Instead, he used partnership as the means to build something which could outlast him long after he parts. This is legacy work. His influence is structural, and you can feel the love and admiration for the work in every single piece Wētā makes and every single creature that feels alive, which they crafted. The worlds feel inhabitable. Richard Taylor's story reminds us that mastery isn't about doing everything yourself. Instead, it's about recognizing what you desire to hold and then finding the right hands to hold it together. So here's the question I want to leave you with this week. This is a question I quite often ask when someone sits across from me feeling overwhelmed, overextended, and unsure why their creative work feels heavier than it should. What part of your work are you still trying to carry alone that was never meant to be held by just you? And what would need to change for you to design real partnership around it instead of pushing through by force? Sit with that. Don't be self-critical. We have enough criticism, darkness, and low vibration in the world already. Just be honest with yourself. You won't find clarity from doing more, and then more, and then more on top of that. But you might find some from bringing in more hands to carry the work you already care so deeply about. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm having a blast making Beyond the Template. Please make sure you spread the word for anyone you think would have fun with us. Before I leave you this week, let's engage in conversation. I want to hear about you. Send me Expander of the Week suggestions. What was your main takeaway from this week's episode? What projects are you working on right now? What are you struggling with as a creative these days? You can add anything you would like to share in the comments section or email me directly at camelielebuff@gmail.com. This will be in the description for you. No one monitors this email but me, so I welcome your thoughts, and I would love to address them with anonymity in future episodes. Let's grow this community of creatives and innovators together. Thank you for joining me today for Beyond the Template. Keep it up. Keep it creative. I created my business because more and more non-linear thinking creatives and innovators are expanding in the world, and I hope to serve as the partner and collaborator for them. I understand the struggles, the guilt, and the overwhelm that comes from dreaming big, but needing someone by your side to ground that dream into real, actionable, and strategic steps. I'm not a consultant or a coach. I don't just give advice. I stay by your side to the end with empathy, understanding, and grounding presence. If this sounds like an exciting possibility, or let's be honest, a weight off your shoulders, please reach out to me for a free chat about your project, your goals, and your dreams. Follow your dreams when my dream's crazy. I was swimming alone with something under me. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Was there treading a pool where blue in the deep. Ooh. Follow your dreams, but my dream's crazy. I was flying atop rows of orchard trees. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Weighted low on the ground, grasping air to flee. Ooh. When the air is thick and the road is long, it's easy to forget how to sing your song. But dreaming can only get you so far. With dust in your eyes, and knowing where to start. Follow your dreams, move through precision. Use that song in your heart for each intention. Follow your dreams, thoughts true, attempted. Your creation exists just beyond the template.